Hello and welcome to Japan and Motegi for edition 16 of After the Flag. I'm Steve Day, joined by Simon Crafar and Matt Birt as usual. Quite dark here in Motegi, as you can see, where Marc Marquez has done it again. 10 wins and part 2 of 3 completed. The Constructors' Championship wrapped up for Honda in their own backyard. It could not get better. In the show coming up, we'll analyse, of course, everything in the top 3. We'll look at the predictions from yesterday, where a certain someone here got all 3 on the money. Ugh. And of course, we'll talk about much more as well. I'm going to start with you, Matt. Marc Marquez done it again. Played a few games coming up onto the grid with a wet tyre. He said it was in case of a flag to flag. I'm not sure if that's the truth or not. Either way, ultimately, you couldn't stop him. I have to say, yesterday, I thought this was going to be an awful lot closer until we got to this morning's warm-up, and that's where everything really changed.
Yeah, he looked so strong on that warm-up session with that medium rear tyre. It was never really in doubt, was it? A few riders were torn between whether they go for the soft or the medium rear tyre, but when Mark came to the grid with the medium, you thought this is going to be ominous. He's had that 2 or 3 tenths on the guys in the warm-up this morning, and he was absolutely incredible. I mean, he rode a faultless race. The only real scare, of course, was late on when that fuel warning light came on. He said the strategy was to sort of run low to mid 146s, and they were fine in terms of fuel with that, but he felt so good at the start. He was doing high 145s, and that was burning up that extra fuel. He said he knows when that fuel light comes on, you've got 3 laps before she conks out. So he was like having to just nurse it home at the end. That was 1.5 laps to go, but he was, again, untouchable, imperious, and the Marquez show just rolls on and on.
Simon, were you surprised with how the race went? I mean, at the start of the weekend, we're always hoping that it's going to be a lot closer. We were hoping for something a bit like Buriram, but it just didn't quite happen today.
I thought Mark would win, but I thought it'd be a fight, you know.
Yeah.
I really did with Fabio's pace through practice and qualifying. But it shows how good Mark was when Fabio was actually pretty happy to be second, you know. I think the pace of Mark early on, Fabio was happy that he was hanging on, you know, yeah, absolutely unreal. Tyre choice, like everyone said yesterday, I think played a big part in it, and yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, let's move on to Fabio Quartararo in second. We'll come back to Mark towards the end of After the Flag. I think we've spoken about him quite a lot so far this year. Fabio Quartararo, his 3rd second place finish in 4 races. That is fabulous. He's now the Rookie of the Year. That's what he set out to kind of do. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough for Marc Marquez today, but ultimately you have to take your cap off. He just said in the press room a moment ago, the start of the year, they set out for 70 to 90 points, and the Rookie of the Year, they've surpassed that and some.
But I think it's fair to say he's exceeded a few expectations. Yeah, they had that meeting, I think, at the Sepang test back in February, where they were laying out all their goals for the season. They went, we want you to be Rookie of the Year, and I think even then he was like, guys, come on, Miguel Oliveira's out there, Juan Mir's out there, there's Pecco Bagnai's out there, some serious talent on some seriously good motorcycles. He's been absolutely awesome. 6 podiums so far this year. You know, he tried to get Mark early on. That mistake that he made at turn 10 where he lost the front, that would have definitely unsettled him a little bit. He just rolled back a little bit, but I've got to say, he did really well at the end to hang on to second place. At one point, he was 4 seconds clear of Dovizioso. Dovi came on really strong, and Fabio actually said, I had to ride the last 2 laps like I was fighting for the win, because he was really worried that Dovi was going to pick him at the line.
I actually asked Fabio as well about the tyres, because we were wondering whether or not Fabio might go for that medium tyre, given that the temperatures were higher today, Simon. Ultimately, he said he preferred the soft, and he wasn't really sure if the medium would have made much difference in terms of fighting Mark anyway.
I think that this race is the first one I've seen so much chaos in that before, and choice-wise, and riders just didn't get the chance to try all the tyres, so they really didn't know. Watching, I think the medium was the choice, you know, and Dovi kind of proved it. Mark won on it. You know, Dovi was so strong at the end, but I don't think the riders had enough time, and with the changing temperatures, to even find out. You know?
Talking about the tyres and Dovizioso, of course, he did decide in the end to race the medium tyre, and I suppose in a way a bit like Aragon. He sort of cleverly was patient, he was calm, he conserved his tyres, he picked them off one by one, and like you say, almost nabbed second, but 3rd in the end, and 100 podiums we should congratulate him on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, only the 10th rider in history to achieve that feat, but he didn't seem that happy, not in great mood to celebrate post-race. I think Andrea Dovizioso recognises this season, Steve, that there's been that slight change in the Michelin rear tyre. We're no longer seeing tyre management races where, you know, you've got to nurse it in those early laps. The guys are going harder right from the get-go, and the Ducati at the moment, it's not making fresh tyres work. He mentioned that after the race, and that's why they're kind of struggling a little bit in qualifying as well. Andrea said Second half of the race, I was really, really strong. His last 3 laps were sensational. I mean, he was doing 46 flats on a 23, 24 lap old tyre, but first half of the race, he just hasn't got the speed. You know, like now, like I said, the time management races, they're almost a thing of the past. The guys are pushing hard at the start of races, and Andrea hasn't got the grip underneath him on fresh rubber at the moment.
But he's also having to work from further back on the grid, isn't he, Simon? I mean, he spent a good portion of the race defending Maverick Vinales as well.
Good point. I think that looked like a proper mental, battle of wills between Dovi and Maverick. And I went to see Tardosi after the race and to get a couple of quotes from him, and said, how happy are you with Dovi's efforts? And he said that absolutely wrapped, but he thinks that Dovi didn't fully believe that he could do it. Meaning, if he'd realised how fast he was when he threw everything, he believes he could have got second, you know. Easy to say, but I know what he means. I saw that Dovi was pushing the front so hard during the race. I'll be honest, I was sitting there thinking that I might lose the third position of my because
he's giving it away already.
He was pushing so hard going into those turns. You could see it go, oh, and I was like,
he said he said I was stupid in the press room a moment ago. That's what he said. So.
I was like going, don't fall, don't fall.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think he made the right choice with that medium again. And Tardosi said, yes, we're worse through the middle of the corner and turning, but we showed our strengths here as in straight line acceleration and braking, you know. And if Dovi had fully believed in himself and I think we could have got second. Just quickly, he mentioned Petrucci pushed so hard early laps that they saw tyre pressure and temperature went through the roof. He had to roll off, which lost him a second a lap till it cooled, and then he came back and he was actually lapping reasonably good that second half, meaning competitive, but had blown it early on.
Yeah, so Dovizioso finished third today. Petrucci, who we just mentioned, finished in ninth, and Dovi did admit actually the braking in particular was something of a strength. I also know what you mean, Simon, because he actually ruled himself out of a podium yesterday. That's an unusual thing to do from Dovi.
Yeah, he was unusually pessimistic, wasn't he? Certainly after Friday, and in the rain yesterday, he didn't look like the normal, confident Andrea Dovizioso. You know, in Aragon, he thought he was going to be perhaps in the game, but there's just something not quite right there. No. Andrea hasn't got the feel and the confidence with this year's bike. Still, as he had at the start of the season. Of course, next weekend, Phillip Island, Australia, a track where he struggles and the Ducati really struggles. It's all about those, you know, high-speed turns where the Ducati has been really off the game over the last couple of years.
Let's try and quickly run through a couple of the other riders. The two Yamahas of Maverick Vinales and Franco Morbidelli. It looks like, again, Maverick Vinales had good pace from the middle point on, faded with the soft tyre at the end, but again, slow start.
Yeah, I was hoping to catch Maio Mirigali, like always, and get a quote and find out what happened. I agree with you. I didn't get to see him. I agree with you. Everyone on the soft dropped off at the end, and there's no doubt that's what they're going to say about Maverick as well. Super strong. I think pretty good start and super strong middle, dropped off at the end. But I did have the pleasure of catching up with Franco Morbidelli after the race, well, about 5 or 10 minutes ago, and he had a grin and a swagger about him, like, and there's nothing negative. It was so nice to see. He really believes in these next races that he can do something, because he said the tyre today never felt like it, the soft, never felt like it did in practice and qualifying. Yeah, and that he doesn't know why, and then it had a big drop off at the end, but everyone did on the soft. I think look out for Franco in the next races.
He just lost out to Cal Crutchlow at the end there as well, but obviously he's not too upset about that.
No, I mean, I think you could see Franco's problems late on. Perhaps he had just lost that crucial rear grip. He tried so hard, didn't he, to get on the gas as early as he could coming out the final corner. He knew that Rins and Crutchlow were waiting to pounce. Crutchlow just had a little bit more rear tyre, it looked like, coming out that final corner. He just got Franco on the line. But, you know, those guys on the Yamahas have got the perfect incentive right now. You know, Quartararo is absolutely riding awesome. You know, I think Dovizioso mentioned this weekend that Quartararo is pushing all those guys. You know, Yamaha are not necessarily developing the M1 at a rapid rate. It's those guys are going, crikey, this guy's so damn fast. We've got to raise our game to go with him. You know, yet again, Quartararo, the fastest guy on the Yamaha, and Rossi, there's a lot of disappointed 46 fans around today. I mean, he was nowhere in qualifying, nowhere in the race. I mean, when was the last time Rossi crashed out of 11th? I mean, come on, what went wrong today?
Yeah, that's not a great result, is it? We just mentioned Cal Crutchlow. I mean, he said that some circuits we're fast, some we're slow. That is Cal's first top 5 since Brno, so he'll be maybe give him a bit of a boost going into Phillip Island, where, of course, we know he absolutely adores. Quick word on 2 manufacturers. I'm going to go for KTM with you, and I'm going to go Suzuki with you, and if you just want to add in both, then you can, but I'll start off with you, Simon. KTM's thoughts, because obviously it was always going to be a tough weekend for Pol given his injury.
Yes, that's what Mike Leitner said as well, but he said he's really happy that Pol is back, meaning injury's good enough that he can fight from here on pretty much 100%. He said we didn't have enough dry track time. He basically said, his words, we weren't ready for the race, you know, set up wise. And I suppose, to be fair, KTM don't have as much history, you know, to fall back on when there is lost days from rain. He said the biggest problem, I wanted to know what the problem was holding them back, and he goes, rear grip. And they had Miguel on the medium and Pol on the soft. I think he said they had one on each anyway. And the riders didn't complain about their choice, they just complained about rear grip flat.
Okay, well, Mika Kallio picked up a couple of points. Miguel Oliveira also picked up some points as well. On to Suzuki. Alex Rins seemed to have some really good pace midway through the race. Likewise, Joan Mir, but they're facing this age-old problem, which seems to keep on coming up. They can't qualify well enough. Yeah,
for some reason, that GSX-RI just doesn't get the best out of a brand new soft tyre. Davide Brivio said after the race to a couple of our colleagues, they know they've got a race-winning motorcycle, a motorcycle that's capable of fighting at the front with Marc Marquez and Fabio Quartararo, but you win nothing when you're starting outside the top 10. You know, Alex Rins, like you said, Steve, his pace throughout the race was for the podium, but he had to work so hard to get through. They've got to try and find a way to make that bike work better when they need that explosive one hot lap, because if they do, then Rins will be fighting for the wins, and Joan Mir is creeping really close. I mean, there was 3 or 4 laps in that race where Mir was one of the top 3 guys, quickest guys on the circuit, so Mir's gaining that experience. Suzuki have got to find something though for Q2, because you can't qualify where they are and have a chance of winning.
I caught up with Davide Brivio as well, and he said same things, and also that, yeah, we're not qualifying well enough, then you have to fight back through. He said it was very hard to come past KTMs and Ducatis because of their speed. You have to overstress the tyre, you've ruined it in the end, and you know, you need to be able to nurse it early on and fight at the end. But he also said it was the start that hurt Rins today. He said he wheelied and then lost a bunch. It was like, then he said about Mir that this is he was really positive about Mir. He said this is the first race that he's learnt to manage the tyre, and yeah, good step forward for Joan.
Yeah, another top 8 for Joan Mir. Okay, before we wrap things up here in Japan, let's have a look back to yesterday and see what we predicted for the Japanese Grand Prix. Okay, here are my predictions then for the Grand Prix of Japan. I'm struggling a little bit with this one. The head always says Marc Marquez, doesn't it? It's normally the case, I suppose, for 2019, but I'm going to go for a bit of a change because he had great pace yesterday. I am going to go for Fabio Quartararo to win his first ever MotoGP race with Marquez in second, and I'm going to go for Andrea Dovizioso in third.
My predictions for the Japanese Grand Prix. Marquez hasn't won 4 races on the trot since 2014, but I think he's going to do it at the Twinga and Motegi. Marquez to win in Honda's home Grand Prix. And I think it's going to be pretty similar to Misano and Buriram. So I'm going to go top 3, Marquez, Quartararo to take second place, with Maverick Vinales coming through to third. That's my 1, 2, 3 in Japan.
This race, for me, is the hardest to predict because of lack of data. You can't see the dry sessions, who's going well, you know, on race rubber. And I think it's also really hard for the riders and teams to choose tyres because they haven't had enough time, but also temperature. It could be warmer tomorrow. I think it could throw cat amongst the pigeons when it comes to tyre choice. But putting tyre choice aside, I think there's a really good chance of 3 manufacturers being on the podium, and I'm going to go for Marc to win because he hasn't got a championship to lose anymore. I think he'll throw everything at it. I think I'll go Fabio for second and Dovi for third.
Okay, well, there we go then. Well done, Simon. Well done. Well
No
done.
worries.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. 2
I
out
mean,
of 3 for you as well. 1 out of 3 for me.
Not too bad. You know, there was a stage in that race where I thought, I've got him here. When
I did
Maverick
too.
was right on
They keep saying that I'm going to gloat. I won't, as long as you buy the beer.
Okay.
That's not going to
Well,
happen.
look, hey, at least I go for the gamble every now and again,
True.
guys.
Gotta say,
Come on.
respect.
Unless I hear there's some money up for grabs at the end of the year, I might change the tactic. Yeah, well done to Simon there. He
Thanks,
got that one bang on the money. Okay, from here, we move on to Australia. Quick word on Marc Marquez. I mean, he can break the record of points here, the way things are going. 350 out of 400 he's now got. But please, I mean, Phillip Island, we love Phillip Island. We want a big race, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, Mark loves Phillip Island. It hasn't got a great record there. I think if there's an opportunity for the Yamahas to win a race again this season, it's going to be in Phillip Island. That track is tailor-made for that bike. The high corner speed, you know, you don't lose the toe on the straight or anything. I think Vinales won there last year. I think Quattararo's got an absolutely wonderful opportunity. If he's going to win one this year, I think it might be in about 7 days' time.
There's a lot of reasons I love Phillip Island, but one of them is that there's no first gear corners leading onto long straights, like I said, and it doesn't matter if you have a bit slower bike because it's all about keeping it flowing. So, just like Silverstone, where Rins did the job.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think if there's a chance for another manufacturer, Phillip Island.
Okay.
And sorry, just takes a bit of bravery from the rider.
Gentlemen, I think that's it. That's
Okay.
all we've got time for here in Motegi. It's getting dark and we want to get back into Mito. We need to get ourselves over to Australia. Thanks for joining us here this weekend in Motegi. Marc Marquez makes it magic number 10 for the season. We'll see you in just a few days' time over in Phillip Island. See you then.
Fabio looking for his first win. Marquez though fights straight back, you knew he would do. Toss under the circuit, Quattararo off the front, he was nearly down. Desmo Dobby goes up into third place and on course for a century of podiums as a World Championship rider. What a race, what a day, he does it again, 4 in a row for Magic Marc.
Thank you.